I wasn't cued in on that moment there.
And welcome to Indie Social. This is the podcast where I, Dylan Yeager,
And Michael Huntington.
interview independent filmmakers. And my golly, don't we have a fantastic guest today?
We do. Ben Schmidt, man. We've been trying to get him on the podcast for a while, but I'm happy that we finally got him on here to talk about all things movie. Very knowledgeable guy.
He is. He's fantastic. Before we bring him on, let's cue that intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight received an award of achievement for directing and producing from the Iowa Motion Picture Awards for his debut film, Is It Snowing Where You Are? Nocturnal and The Last Sleepover both received nominations for directing and producing short form narrative at the Iowa Motion Picture Awards. And Nocturnal also picked up an award of achievement at the Muscatine Film Festival in the Murder and Mayhem category. Please give a round of applause for Ben Schmidt.
Get out of here, Ben. Come on in, man. This is you. This is Ben.
This is
the part. Yeah.
This is your moment.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm here with you lovely boys.
Yeah, we've been able to I feel like I've hung out with you more today than I have any other guest. We've been kicking it since like 12 p.m. almost.
It's been dope, yeah.
It's been dope, yeah. So,
and this gentleman here got us some wings when he showed up. And I tell you what, I ate the hottest wing and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to make it to this episode because my tummy was a rumbling.
I mean, shout out to Wingstop, man. I never heard of that place, but Ben suggested it and he was like, I'm going to bring some wings. And I was like, all right, man, I'm down for that.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Dylan, those were not the hottest wings. Those were like mid-tier at best.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm totally joking.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I was like, dang, there's a hotter one, man. Jeez. All right, cool. Well, Ben, you know how we always start these things. When did you get into filmmaking? Were you naturally sort of into it? Did you slowly get into it? What's your story?
Yeah, so like, there's kind of just always been like I don't remember a time I wasn't like in love with film and movies. And sort of the anecdote that my mom always liked to tell is like one of my favorite movies growing up was Jurassic Park. Still love that movie.
Classic.
And like where everyone else is like horrified at like the T-Rex just like coming in and biting the lawyer on the toilet, I was just like, oh, how'd they do that? Because I was like so like aware of the fact that it wasn't real. And I kind of always was just very interested in the magic trick aspect of it, where it's like, I know that Death Stars don't exist. I know dinosaurs are dead. How did you do that? And so I got really, really into like special features and stuff like that at a very early age.
And that's at a time before YouTube was really a resource, or really even the internet, really. I mean, we're not old, but the internet wasn't necessarily super huge when we were growing up. So yeah, how did you learn about movies? Was it just the special features? Were you reading books or?
I read books later on. When I kind of decided that it was something I was going to pursue more, I picked up some reading stuff, but I got to thank the 27 hours of behind the scenes on the Lord of the Rings for showing.
Gosh, man, was it its own separate DVD then?
Yeah, like if you got the extended editions, it was like 2 DVDs for each movie and then 3 DVDs for special features for each movie. It was
that's one film I never got into, man, that I need to go
Dude,
back.
they're so good.
Like growing up, Star Wars was a thing I was never into, but during the pandemic, I really like got into Star Wars and I love that show or those movies so much now. I think Lord of the Rings is sort of that next thing that I got.
But you got to start with The Hobbit. You got to go in order.
Start with The Hobbit?
No, you do.
You really don't. You can read The Hobbit first. Do not watch the movies first.
Isn't The Hobbit the newest movie though?
Yeah,
but they're a prequel, kind of like Star Wars.
Kind of a Star Wars prequel.
Okay.
Well, the funny thing, The Hobbit was written first, and then The Lord of the Rings was written after it. But
interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
And the movies are, shall we say, a mixed bag.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it,
man. But
I feel like every time we have a guest on here, they always dislike my favorite movies.
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
Lord of the Rings one of your? Is The Hobbit one of your?
I like
movies?
it all, man. I love it.
I will watch the Hobbit movies, but I think, especially compared to Lord of the Rings, it's.
Didn't you watch the Harry Potter films?
No, I haven't watched those either.
Oh, dude, you got to.
Yeah,
Those
I'm
are so
sorry,
good.
man. I don't even know why I'm into movies. I haven't watched, like we were just talking about, I haven't watched really any of Quentin's movies. I haven't watched Pulp Fiction. So I'm a failure. So
what we got to do?
Going back to Lord of the Rings special features, that's when I discovered what a red camera was, because Peter Jackson like only films with the red.
The Hobbit was all shot on red. Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings was old enough that it was all
I
shot
was
on
just
film.
film, yeah.
Lord of the Rings was film. Hobbit was all reds.
Yeah,
Red epics.
because the reds have only been around since like 2010. Yeah.
2008 was when the red one came
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
But-
So
See, I did not know that. I'm not a camera guru like you guys.
I have
try.
never touched a camera once in my life.
yeah, I don't even know what a camera is.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Anyway.
yeah. So where were we at? In your journey of making movies, we sort of left it off on special features. From there, what was the next process?
So yeah, I kind of had this horrifying thought that in order to make a movie, I had to move to LA and I had to.
At that young of an age, or
Yeah, well, I'm talking like middle school, like
dang,
back
man.
when I knew I wanted to make movies when I was basically by the time I was at the end of grade school, and I realized actually I have specifically like the memory of the first time I went to Chicago, they were shooting Dark Knight, and I saw like the Batmobile and shit. And it was
Whoa,
super
dude, that
dope.
is cool, man.
And so I was like, this is like down weird. I'm just gonna.
yeah,
If this is destroying anybody's
it
ears,
probably is. But hey, welcome to Indie Social.
but yeah, so I had this. I don't know if this is necessarily what kicked it off, but like seeing them just like shoot that was like, oh no, like people do this.
Hundreds.
People do this.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, I sort of had the horrifying, disgusting thought that you have to have millions of dollars and, you know, all this studio backing and, you know, you got to have special effects and all that. And then it was really when I discovered independent film in like my early teens. I think it was like 13 when I first saw like Clerks and El Mariachi. And like that sort of glut of like the 90s indie boom, like the Richard Linklaters, the Tarantinos, the Robert Rodriguez's, Steven Soderbergh, kind of realizing that it was like, oh, you can just like pick up a camera and you can make a movie. Like I can do that. And then I didn't do it for like 5 years, but still.
When I started, I would make movies off of like my web. I had a built-in webcam, and I would like have my friends come over, and there would always be one angle because it's just a built-in webcam. And like that's sort of like my journey into picking up a camera in a way. Not really, it's a webcam. What was your first like camera and like your journey in making a film?
Well, my first camera was a flip camera, which
classic.
But I
Dude,
didn't really shoot
those
anything.
still. I mean, I don't want to say they'll hold up, but at the
They
time,
don't, but oh my gosh, was it
at
awesome.
the time, not
before,
bad.
before like iPods and phone cameras
not
were a
bad
thing.
at all.
Oh, yeah,
and
no.
affordable. I think that was
Super
like one of the
affordable, yeah.
first ish affordable cameras that you could shoot HD video in.
I didn't
right?
really, because like I think it was like 720,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
full frame, but it's dope.
Right.
I don't think I shot anything like cinematic on it or anything, but that was my first camera, and then I like upgraded like a Sony equivalent after that. That sucked because the focus just didn't work. But no, I actually didn't make anything. I just focused mostly on writing at first.
Okay.
So like the first, like I was a freshman in high school when I first sort of decided like, okay, I'm gonna write a movie. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna write a movie, and it's gonna be great because of course, because the first thing you write
It's the best.
is always
obviously
great.
Yeah.
Always. But then I never, and I'm wonderful, and then I hate everything I do all of the time. So it took me a while to write something that I felt like I was confident enough in making. And then I eventually bought Canon T3i, because we all start with Canon T3i. And then
T2i for me.
Yep. But Canon Rebel TXI.
Yeah.
And then didn't make a movie for another 2 years, but
At least you had the camera.
yeah, had the
You
camera,
thoughts.
started learning how to use it. I've always kind of, I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist because
Sure.
that makes me sound like an asshole. But I have always been like, if I shoot something, and especially with like a camera like that, it was much harder to get really good cinematic stuff out of it. It was very possible, but when you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing. It's much more difficult. So it took me probably until my senior year of high school before I finally made my first short film. And then I graduated. And then I just I made stuff here and there for the next like 4 years.
What were you
making this
editing
film.
on then? Because I assume it was before like Premiere or anything.
Premiere was a thing. It was still as expensive as it is today. And
Yeah.
I was a broke college student. But I was editing actually on Sony Vegas for a while,
Okay.
which was okay.
It's really not that bad.
It's really not that bad.
Like I got it from my friend. I think it was like $50 on Steam, and you could literally have the whole Sony Vegas, and it was good.
it's
it's
fine.
decent.
It was the first time I'd had, because before that it was all like Movie Maker and crap like that.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first time I had stuff like multi-track audio and like you could put clips on top of each other. It was basic, but it was robust enough to make it, I learned editing on it.
Right. And then that like probably transitioned once you picked up Premiere, you sort of knew a little.
Well, then I actually, because then my next, so I had a PC at that point, and then my computer went to crap because I treated it like crap. And then I switched it over to a Mac, and then on my Mac, I had it on Final Cut for a few years.
Okay.
Which no one really talks about Final Cut. It's actually a pretty damn good program.
Well, dude, some people still use Final Cut. Like I know a lot of like wedding filmmakers that still use Final Cut, and I mean,
I will say like, if you shoot so I shoot a lot of ProRes. Yeah. ProRes and Apple Kodak. If you edit on an Apple Kodak on an Apple program like Final Cut on an Apple computer, it's the smoothest editing process.
Yeah, because there's sort of like a hump you have to go through when doing, Yeah.
But then I switched over to Premiere just because it was more of like what everyone's been using.
Yeah. So you're talking about making your first short film you said your senior year of high school?
Yeah.
What was that process like? Like, did you know anything about making movies? Just to give you an example, I thought movies were like, you say a line and then you'd cut, and then you say a line to the other person, they cut, and then you'd go back and forth. And that was like I
was a little bit more knowledgeable just because I had a couple of attempts at that point that I kind of flopped at doing. But so it was, and we actually made it for speech competition, high school speech.
Yeah.
And it was, you could only make a 5-minute short film, and I wrote a 27-page script. And if any of you know anything about screenplay math, that's not 5 minutes.
No, not even close.
No. So we basically they just kind of improv like the first scene was the same and the last scene was the same, and just basically everything else between they just kind of quickly truncated and improved. But I still did a lot of the things I still do today. I did then. Like every shot I did the entire scene during. I like to just run the whole scene. Just know what you're gonna catch.
Yeah.
Dude, I tell you what, I miss high school. I used to do speech also.
I love speech.
Dude, it was so fun.
I loved waking up at 5 a.m. to get on a bus to travel 3 hours to
5 a.m.
Yeah, you had to get to because usually speech competition was like at a school farther away because it was like your district or your like the whole state.
And speech is like acting, right?
Yeah, it's like acting. It's more like
readers theater,
improv.
Yeah.
So then, was there ever a moment when maybe filmmaking or like making the movie was something that you wanted to do, but you also started to fall in love with acting? Was that ever?
Acting was actually the first love.
Okay.
Like as a real little kid, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be an actor because when you're a kid, you don't know that Alfonso Cuarón directed Harry Potter.
Right.
You think Daniel Radcliffe was very instrumental in all the creative decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an actor at first. And it wasn't until like middle school I realized, okay, no, actors don't make the decisions. Actors don't get to do anything. They just have to show up and say their lines.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, dude, you're a phenomenal actor. You had a big part in is it Lillian?
Lillian, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't know you were in that movie until I watched it. I was like, wait, that's Ben. That's Ben Schmidt.
Sort of like,
and you were
we literally did not have a script.
Oh.
We literally that came about because we were in the middle of shooting something else with Carson and Sydney, and we could only shoot at night, but we had Sydney for the full weekend. And so we literally had just a whole day, and it was the beginning of summer, so days last like 14 hours.
Yeah.
And Carson had just bought their new camera. And we were like, all right, what do you want to do? And Carson was like,
what was the camera?
It was a Blackmagic Pocket 4K.
Okay, cool.
And Carson was like, Carson, being the absolute insane mad person they are, I love them to death, comes back the next morning and is like, I have an idea for a full short film, and this is what we're going to do. And the Lillian character is actually the character from Carson's novel, Old Wounds.
Oh, okay.
So it was something that
was sort of close to him already.
And it was something that Carson had wanted to do with Sydney before. So like while we were in the process of getting like Ellen and Xavier ready, like they were writing some Lillian stuff to do with Sydney. And they still are. They've written a wonderful, wonderful script.
So what's your like your acting style? I like to consider myself a method actor. How do you get into your roles?
I really don't act anymore. That for me, it's I can't even say really what the style is. It's more like for that was really a lot of Carson's direction. But I'm actually in another Carson film. I'm in Scream of the Crop, and that's a little bit more I play a stoner.
And wasn't it going to be filmed in like 2020?
Yep,
The
that's
pandemic?
that's wonderful story. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember when that was sort of, I think was there a casting call for that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I remember when that was sort of in the works, but yeah, the pandemic sort of put a stint into that.
Yeah. But so for that, like I play a stoner in that, but I don't want to. I generally try to stray away from sort of like the obvious cliches and just about anything I do. So for me, I wasn't like, hey dudes, like you guys want to go like smoke a spliff in the woods over there. Like I looked at my stoner friends and I'm like, my stoner friends are some of the most hyper people I've ever met. Like these are dudes who are just like so excited, but like aren't that excited. And
almost like a surfer bro in a way.
Not really like a surfer bro. I do wear a Sublime shirt, which is super dope.
Yeah.
I got really into ska because of this movie.
Interesting.
But so I guess like my acting style, I forget, I cannot tell you what it's called, but it's the sort of thing where you look at people in your life and you sort of
study them
a little bit. Not like I'm sitting there like
creeping on them,
but try to think of their mannerisms.
Sure.
Yeah, I hate labels, but I just seem to always like, if I were to have to pick a style, I would just say it's method. But does it really matter?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own style. I think
right.
Going into anything, I think you do have a very unique style, especially with like watching some of your recent work, like The Last Sleepover, and I'm gonna fuck up that. What's the one that you linked me that you let me see?
Ellie and Natalie.
Yes, you have a very like specific style, and I remember running into you the first time. I think it was for that movie, that The Most Forgettable Man.
It was Kevin's. Yeah, it was Kevin's.
Yeah, and you were telling me that you were sort of in love with the genre of coming of age.
Yes.
And is that still sort of your main?
Yeah, it's kind of been where I've been stuck for a few years now. I mean, Nocturnal is a horror movie, but funny enough, back when I was writing and started writing those movies in high school, I always had this, the pretensions of being great. And so I looked at kind of like, okay, what are other people in high school? What don't I like about their movies? And I was like, I don't really like how people make, like gangster movies when like they're just casting their friends. Cause it's like, you look at them, they're teenagers. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went into it with that idea of like, well, if the only people I can theoretically cast are teenagers, I'll just write teenagers. And so I wrote just like a bunch of coming of age stories in high school.
So then would you say that you have a bunch of work written that you haven't had the chance to make yet?
Yeah. I'd say most of it has sort of like bled into other things. Like there is a lot of a different script I was working on in Ellie and Xavier. The Last Sleepover is a scene from a much larger story that I was going to tell at one point. There's a few things. The thing is, I don't want to do the genre forever.
Yeah, that was my next question. It's sort of like, is Ellie and Xavier sort of like the thing you want to finish before you can like comfortably move on to the next thing?
There's one more coming of age short that I want to shoot.
Okay.
That one's also incredibly personal to me, but I definitely think I would want to take a break for a little bit from it before moving on.
Especially like with Ellie and Xavier is going to be a feature, right?
Yes, it is.
So talk about that. This is your first one, right?
Yes.
What has the planning been like? Because I know you've gone through several like, all right, we're going to start filming now, but we can't because of this reason, or holy shit, now there's a pandemic, or we're not going to be filming for the rest of the year. How much stress has that caused? And is it anything that you would have ever imagined jumping into it?
The amount of stress has been quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's been rough. I'm not gonna mince words about it. It's been fucking awful. And I blame a lot. Honestly, I can sit here and I can blame the pandemic and I can blame a number of things. I do put a lot of the personal blame on myself because I fairly arrogantly went into it thinking I'm going to be I'm the director, I'm the writer, I'm the cinematographer, I'm the editor, and I'm the producer. And I am a terrible producer. I am very bad at like scheduling and keeping things organized. And so a lot of it has been me kind of realizing that about myself. And that is why I've brought on Maddie now to be my co-producer.
So like even talk about that too. Like I always praise finding your team, because that has always been essential to really making anything, I think, is finding those people that you can rely on. So when starting this journey, you didn't really have anyone, right? It was just you.
No, yeah,
was really... that by choice, or was it because there was no one yet that you trusted enough to do all those?
Kind of like, I mean, like way at the beginning was kind of just out of necessity. Like I had like a few friends who I could like convince like to come and like hold the mic and stuff, and like love those people, and they were great. It wasn't until... Sorry,
Dylan, you're scratching the microphone a little bit, but hold
it like I'm sorry.
It's okay. I would just take your hand off of it. Maybe it's just because that cord is loose.
I have to hang on to it, otherwise it runs away.
Well, Brittany was just letting us know. Anyway, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Yeah, so for kind of just by necessity for a while, I mean, I was at the especially time, so I still struggle with, I'm naturally very shy, kind of suck at reaching out to people. So it really wasn't until, and this is a story a lot of you have said too, and it wasn't until I discovered Iowa Film and sort of started branching out through there that I discovered people. I actually discovered Maddie, who ended up, we met when I casted them in Nocturnal. Discovered them through a friend who they had gone to high school with and played online with. But then like a lot of my other collaborators, Emil I met at the Noir party that happened literally right before the shutdown.
Wait, was that for Wildcard?
Yeah, for Wildcard. That's where I met Emil.
Oh yeah, dude, I forgot that you were there. That night seems like a blur
because we were all drinking.
Yeah,
like it was the end.
Drinking and doing karaoke, man. My favorite thing.
I know, man. And then I got to see Rob go and do karaoke too. It was a magical moment that I do forget about. Then yeah, that was sort of like the last big thing that we all did
right before the shutdown. Yeah,
it was literally the next day after. It was like, all right, everything shut down.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy.
It was crazy.
And then like I was like scared. I was like, I was around so many people, and the world's coming to an end right now.
Right. Yeah, that was a wild time.
Dodgy times.
That was a wild time 17 years ago when COVID started, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. And you know, I mean, I've had a lot of people on the way. Like I got to mention my friend Brennan Pivnica, he was my co-producer on Nocturnal, and he was really one of the first people who like told me to just like pick up a camera and like, let's pick up a camera and go make something, which I'd been like so against doing. It's like, no, I have to write it. It has to be this like pure expression of my soul. And one night we were just hanging out in his dorm, and I had my camera, and I was like, let's just shoot something right now. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, I gotta go grab my microphone. And he was like, because I had my microphone at home. And he was like, no, let's just start shooting. I was like, but the audio. He's like, no, let's just do it. And we did it. I mean, the audio is crap on that movie, but it was still something that we made. And it's just this like really, like we shot the whole thing in a night. We literally just went down the hall and knocked on everybody's door, and whoever wasn't doing anything, just like put on a hat and ended up in the movie.
So you said that was in college, right? So was that in college?
Yes, I was out of college by that point.
Oh, you were out of college. While you were in college, though, did you say that you were for film? Was that why?
Media studies,
okay.
Which was a mistake. Wasn't really what I wanted to do, but yeah.
Was it teaching you what you wanted to do, or not really?
It wasn't. I mean, it was a good program. I won't knock it at all, but it was more just that I realized if I stayed there, I was not going to end up doing what I wanted to do.
Sure. Okay.
And if I had stayed there, you know, and I ask myself that all the time, you know, especially after you drop out of school and make a big decision like that.
How long were you in there?
Only one semester.
One semester.
And you know, I made the decision kind of hastily, but I asked myself all the time, like, okay, if I had stayed in school, would I be any happier than I am now? And I don't think I would be. If anything, I think I'd be a little bit more sad.
Yeah. Well, that, and then, you know, all the decisions define you in life. So, I mean, I think you made the right choice. You were able to make the stuff that you wanted to make without that degree, man. And you're still doing it. You're still doing some really cool stuff. So let me see here.
Well, do you have a dream of running to Hollywood at all? Nope. And making it big, or do you like being like, I like calling ourselves underground filmmakers. It's just, there's something so cool about being indie and underground.
I have no interest in living in LA, like none at all. I could see myself eventually moving out of Iowa. I could see myself moving to Austin as a town I really love.
Yeah.
I could see myself moving to Chicago, maybe even Madison's not much bigger than where I'm at right now, but maybe somewhere like that where there's a bit more of a film community. But
yeah, I mean, much like you, I think when starting this filmmaking journey, you're like, oh yeah, man, you got to move to LA to like get any sort of like,
Yeah.
And I mean, that could be true to a certain degree. Like, who knows how far we can make it in Iowa. But I think for right now, like Iowa's dope and like I'm enjoying still learning and everything, But yeah, it's tough because you're like, I mean, at one point, I think you have to, move in a way, maybe.
In a way, yeah. I will say right now, of the films I want to make, there's still like several that I want to make in Iowa.
Yeah.
That like that coming of age film that I was talking about. I want to shoot that in my hometown. Like there's no other place I would shoot it, even if I got like tax incentives. They were like, just go down to Georgia and shoot it for X amount of dollars. I'll be like, no, I want to shoot. It's like every filmmaker does that. Edgar Wright did it, Greg Gerwig did it. So I got nostalgia.
We got some questions here. Brittany Benedict asked, there's been it's probably your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm just joking. Everyone I've met Brittany several times.
Yeah, she's just right in the other room. You talk to her, it's fine. Does Ben still have an interest in acting? I know you sort of answered that, but
not really. I'm not against it. It's not, I'm still in Scream the Crop and I'm very, very excited about that. But it's not something that really, I don't want to say I don't think I'm good at it, but I don't think I'm good at it. And it's not.
I disagree. I think
thank you very much. But it's the sort of thing where to get to a point where I would be confident in doing it more, I would have to dedicate more time to it.
Yeah.
And working with actors especially is one of my favorite things in the world to do.
Yeah.
But I have so much respect for actors, and I
you don't want to dishonor their ability by
I don't want to dishonor your craft by sucking.
Yeah. Michael Minard said, somebody tell Ben he forgot to pay his tab at Midtown. And then Michael said, and tell him I got him, boo.
You said you added there.
That is true, Michael. You did mention it. Anyway, Maddie says, can't wait to get started on, I believe, Ali and Xavier. Let me see. What else here? Maddie said, we are moving to Seattle. And then Alana says, haha, Seattle is where I want to move to. So maybe you guys can, split some rent, because I'm sure it's not.
I want to live in.
Sure, it's pretty expensive.
I want to live in at least one place that Kurt Cobain fell asleep.
That's an interesting.
Even if it's underneath a bridge.
Is that where Kurt Cobain was from?
Yeah,
Seattle?
yeah.
Nirvana I had no idea.
Seattle grunge. It was huge.
Well, that Twilight's from there, yeah.
Yes, Forks.
Brittany went down with her friend, and they went to the actual, I don't know, place where they inspired
Forks,
by or whatever.
Washington is a real place.
A vibe, yeah.
I've never been to Washington. Excuse me.
So you're also involved in a film, Torch, which we talked about with Maddie. What was that project like for you, working with your best friend?
Well, it was super easy because we lived together. So anytime we had to have a meeting about it, it was just like,
hey man, come on my room.
Knock, knock, knock. What? You talk, Torch? Well, at that point I didn't have a name yet.
Oh,
you talked to me. I was like,
well, then it's changed names, right?
It did, yeah. We never really like chose a name. I always just called it one thing for a while. Like it was always Maddie's movie. But, no, that was honestly really, really great. Actually, now if Maddie's watching, it was awful.
And a lot different what you normally shoot.
Yeah. So
what was did you study any scenes or movies to sort of get inspired?
We talked a lot about BBC Sherlock, the Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman. Sherlock was a big influence. And even just random things like Parasite was a big influence.
Oh, yeah.
Like, which is like, you look at the movie and you wouldn't know, but like just Damien walking through the house. Damien walking through the house was really inspired by Parasite.
Oh, okay.
And I threw in a couple of little flourishes here and there. Like I'm a big Hitchcock fan, so I kind of was a little inspired by some early Hitchcock, some Rebecca, and stuff like that. Apparently I was very John Wick inspired, because when Maddie and I were watching John Wick one night, they were like, it reminds me of Torch. And I'm like, oh yeah, it does. But yeah, no, that was, we talked a lot about the look of that and the style of it. So in that film, because there was at one point I remember we were like, oh, do we want to go POV here? And I was like, I don't want any POV shots. let's make it feel like we're spying on this agent the whole time. Let's create that sense of voyeurism for the movie. And there was things like I usually like to shoot with like older lenses. I love vintage lenses. For that one, I went more sharper. I went modern glass, and a lot more smoother shots, a lot of tripod, a lot of gimbal, things that I hadn't really done as much at that point. But
so you also edited that as well, right?
Yeah, I co-edited it with Emil.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What was that experience like, co-editing? I assume that's also something newer.
Yeah. It was actually super easy because Emil had been editing it for a few months, and then because he had been sort of busy with some of the other projects we've been working on, and Maddie wanted to get the ball rolling on it, and he was like, hey, can you take a swig? And I was like, hey, send me over. So actually, Emil did a lot of like the hardest work. It's like, I don't know about you, but you don't edit, but I don't know about, no idea. I don't know about you, but for me, the hardest part of any edit is the rough cut.
Yeah,
just getting something on the timeline that like if it just fits together, and then watching it and not wanting to die is nearly
I don't know,
impossible.
man. I almost enjoy the rough cut more than like having to go back and fix everything. I think I just love looking at the footage, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can finally start getting to work on it. I actually love the process of the rough cut. I hate sending it to people, and then they're giving me their opinions, and I'm like, dude, it's a rough cut. I know it's rough. Like that's why I put it there.
So the opposite. It's funny because
really?
I love going in and like fine tuning things, and I love getting notes on that. But getting a rough cut together is always just like I'm like watching every take like 17 times. I'm just like, all right, his eyes go this way and that one. Is it better if it goes this way and this one? Let's put that on there. And I get like way too pedantic during the rough cut too. So I'm like trying to make like really big decisions while I'm doing it. So Emil got that out of the way. So I basically just had to like finish the first cut, which was mostly done for me. Thanks, Emil. And then just kind of like fine tune it from there. And I did about 2 or 3 passes on it after that.
And then, so now it's done. And I know Maddie was saying that they were waiting on the score. And I think Maddie said that is done now. And it's just sort of waiting for, I think hopefully, it will get in and you guys will be able to premiere it there. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, from the trailer, it looks really cool. The cinematography is dope. I mean, were you the one who cut together that trailer?
No, Emil did the trailer.
Well, he did a fantastic job. That is such a good trailer, man. And it looks really good. And I think Damien is super excited to finally see it. He's been talking about it for a long time. So if you haven't, go watch the trailer for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Maddie wanted me to mention rainier beer to Ben. I don't know what that means.
So you mentioned Twilight.
Okay.
One night it was very late, and Maddie and I, like all good roommates do, it's like 1 a.m, watch Twilight.
Okay.
And as everyone who watches Twilight knows, the very best character in the entire series is Bella's dad, Charlie Swan. And we noticed he'd been drinking this beer the entire movie that we'd never heard of. It's called Rainer beer. Rainer, okay. like the name, like Rainer Werner Fassbender, or someone else named Rainer. But so we were like, we gotta get that beer. And we looked it up, and it's like only available in like Canada and like Washington, like one other like far north state. And so we've been like obsessed with like really wanting to get us the case of Rainer beer. No, it's nowhere near here. Like we tried to see if we could ship it once, but we're like, a little too much.
that's a little dramatic. But hey, man, I believe you guys will get it at some point. Maddie says Ben did an amazing job on Torch. He seriously killed it. Alana says, oh my God, I love the insight about your inspiration. What other movies inspire your overall work? So
I've never actually watched a single movie ever.
You've only watched clips.
It's funny, like it kind of depends on the project. So like Ellie and Xavier, some of the really big inspirations for that would be Before Sunrise, which is kind of the most obvious one, but also Dazed and Confused, American Graffiti. The style of it, the look of it is this film, Y Tu Mama Tambien. It's a Mexican film that Alfonso Cuarón made right before. It was a film he did before Prisoner of Azkaban and Children of Men. It was he'd made like a few movies in America, and then he was like, I'm fed up with the studio system. I'm going back to Mexico, and I'm just gonna make the movie that I've been wanting to make for 20 years. And it was him and it was his longtime cinematographer, and they didn't just go out and shoot it, but it's all that very like not really documentary style, but this just like really wide handheld style that is just so visceral and so like puts me in.
This is
the
like
place.
not related to that movie, but have you seen Nomadland?
Yes.
Oh my God, I
Nomadland.
love that movie. And if you watch behind the scenes, it's literally like 4 people
Yeah.
running that entire like set. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And I can't think of the director, but she's
Chloe Zhao.
phenomenal. Yes.
Chloe Zhao's amazing.
And she went on to direct The Eternals.
The
Yeah?
Eternals, yes.
Which I haven't seen that yet.
Which
either,
is
but-
actually very good. And
yeah, my friend is saying that, but everyone kind of shitted on that movie. Yeah.
they didn't like it because it's not
Traditional, maybe.
it's not your big punch up Marvel fest that we're used to. I'm not saying the movie's perfect. There's certainly flaws, but it's far too interesting to be a bad movie, is what I always said.
Sure.
So Ellie and Xavier, you made a prequel
I did
to that. And so what was that inspiration? Like, is it just because you've been wanting to get this feature done, so you had to do something quick?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because initially it started off as the first time Ellie and Xavier got delayed. I was like, well, just waiting to start. Might as well do something. And so Sydney Ginter and Carly Neal, who play Ellie and Natalie respectively, they had done quite a bit of rehearsal already for their characters. And one of the things, and this isn't really a spoiler because it's the beginning of the movie, a big thing for Ellie's character in the future is she is having a falling out with her best friend, Natalie, her lifelong best friend. They grew up together. They decided to go to this college together, and we don't really find out why until later, but they are having a big falling out. And that's sort of Ellie's problem at the beginning of Ellie and Xavier. And part of our sort of rehearsal process for those two is I wanted them to do the fight, and I just improv, like let's just see what you guys came up with. And they just like go back and forth for like 10 minutes. And like, this is
I'm insane.
Juicy.
So
but then
what is your directing style then? Because I know you were saying that you like your favorite thing is like working with the actors.
Yeah.
What would you say is sort of your style when doing that?
I love rehearsal is kind of a very important part of the process to me. I know a lot of people don't do an extensive rehearsal for film because it doesn't really make sense to do it.
And when you mean like rehearsal, is that like the table read or?
Table reads, but like with far more, and like a lot of times, especially with COVID, a lot of it was over Zoom.
Sure.
Which can be a bit weird, but it's like since we can't do blocking specifically,
right.
I love to really talk about it. I like really love to talk through the blocking so that we have ideas. And I really I love to just get into the nitty gritty of each line of dialogue. And I'm not married to any of my dialogue. So like if something doesn't sound right, I go, that doesn't sound right. What would sound better there? And a lot of times the actor will just feed me something. I'm like, that sounds way more natural coming out of your mouth. So let's use that. So like it's also kind of a workshop process. I like to do at least for Ellie and Xavier, blimey, countless, but I like to do at least 3 or 4 really in-depth rehearsals like that, where we run the scene several times. And a big part of that is also because I am often my own DP as well.
Mm-hmm.
Since I am dealing with a lot of technical stuff while on set, having that work ahead of time, having that discussion of motivation and emotion and blocking ahead of time. Basically, once we get there and we get in the space, it's pretty easy to take what we've discussed and just make it work for the space. And if we have to adjust something, we have to adjust something. But basically, it's like, okay, we've already had these conversations and action. And that's
so then so that kind of leads me to my next question. I know that you love sort of being the writer and director, but you also do you are your own DP. Is that something that you think as you continue to grow your career, you'll let that responsibility go to someone else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do love DPing, but I do think there is something that's lost without the collaboration of another person handling the camera.
Sure.
And as someone who is, again, they're in cinematographer a lot of the time, I sort of have to find my own inspiration and have to have those conversations with myself about what do I want this style to be and what's going to make sense for the story, what's going to help us really get into the feeling of these characters. And that's just much easier to do when you have another person there to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's really important to sort of let go of that responsibility so you can focus on your directing stuff, especially if that's what you love. But man, I would think it'd be tough, especially since you have shot your stuff this far. I think that would be, maybe not. I think it'd be tough for me. I think like I'm an editor. Like that's what I love to do the most. Like if I could ever find a better like or a DP that I could work with, I'd much prefer that too. I'm always a person who's like has to edit my own stuff though.
yeah.
Is there something like that too, where it's like you have to be on your own project doing what you want to do?
I could see myself. You give me any money to give to people, probably do it. But like editing is something where, and yeah, I know that like being the writer and director, a lot of times being an editor is also kind of can lead to the movie being very indulgent or it not being, I've seen movies edited by people who they were the writer and director, and you're like, you really need to kill some of your babies here.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I hate all of my babies. So I just I don't want to cut my movies just to pieces, but like I very much care about pacing and I very much care about intent in the edit. So I try to be as objective as possible with my own work.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I don't think a whole lot of people know this, or maybe they do, but you just got done working on a web series called.
We're still working on it.
You're still working on it.
Oh,
my bad. Friendly Faces. How did you get involved in that?
It's actually really funny how I got involved with that. So I had done some work with Spencer Smith and Bruce Bales back in August. I did some work on the feature film Remote from Matt Tribble and Mark Bauer.
Yeah.
And that movie is going to be so dope, by the way.
I
just did like 2 days. I pretended I was Nick Ford for 2 days on that set. Who's there a long time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you have Bruce on anything, it's going to be a good film.
Bruce is such an amazing dude. I love Bruce.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I did a few days of work on that, got along with Spence and Bruce really well. And then funny enough, it was after that, I just had everything was either for the next 2 months, it was like wedding, music video, wedding, music video. I just was completely busy every weekend for the next like 2 or 3 months after that. And then finally it was coming up on like the first weekend in November. I was like, I finally don't have anything going on. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up on it. Like my boss was like, kind of like, hey, since you don't have anything going on, can you pick up another shift? And I was like, you know what? Why not? It'll be easier than, going to shoot a wedding for 15 hours. Like, why not? Yeah, we can do that. I literally say, hey, I can do that. I get into my car. It's a Thursday. I opened my phone to turn on Spotify and it's Bruce messages me and I was like, hey guys, I know this is super short notice, but we need crew for this week. And it was Friendly Faces. And because Spencer was directing that episode and Bruce was DPing it. And Bruce tells me the story. Spencer was asking him on Thursday, like, hey, so who's the crew? And Bruce was like,
I don't know.
Oh shit, we're usually the crew. So he just hits up me and Emil because he knows we're like kind of in the area. Yeah, so we go out and we do that episode, and that's how I met Keaton. That's how I met Nick. And then Wayne was also on that episode. Love working with Wayne.
So then what? So do you know how many episodes are there?
I believe there are 8 episodes total. If Keaton is in the chat and or somebody else who's involved can correct me on that.
And then you said you had 2 episodes now?
I worked on that episode. Yeah, we're on the last episode now. Filming it right now. We did some filming a couple weekends ago and we have just a couple more days left. But yeah, I've just been more grip and electric or VCam on that, but it's such a great series and it's so hilarious, and Keaton is such an incredible writer. And I've also gotten the chance to work with Marissa Vaughn. She directed one of the episodes.
I've been wanting to work with her. She's does some fantastic work.
She is so awesome.
Hey guys, this is super embarrassing, but I gotta go water the roses real quick, if you know what I mean. I'm dancing over here. I'm looking at myself on the screen. I'm like bouncing
too much Wingstop.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll entertain the people.
All right.
Okay. Don't worry.
Right.
We won't get into okay. Anyway, Kevin Shepard here says, as a director, how do you manage the thin line between letting the actors hang out and when it's time to get to work?
There's no time for hanging out.
Yeah, amen, dude.
I mean, I'm not always the best at it because I am very friendly with my actors. I do love my actors. But usually, like, especially if the time is going or if Maddie is ADing, Maddie will be like,
is Maddie sort of the one that's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Maddie or Emil will be that way too. Actually, I've had when Carson's been on set, Carson's been that way for me too. I can easily get distracted, as anybody who is watching this can probably tell. But yeah, so it's really just a matter of being aware of the time, and also, you want to get done early so you can all hang out afterwards.
Yeah, that is true. I think it is really tough. And as we've learned, me and Brittany, we always like, because we know the initial moment when everyone gets to set, everyone's going to want to talk. So we sort of account for that, like a 30-minute block where it's like, all right, the crew is going to set up, but we're going to let the actors sort of have their moment to like, chat and chill for a minute. And then after that, it's work all the time.
I've gotten in the habit of, for the call sheet, saying we need them there like an hour before we really think we need them, and an hour later than we really think we need them. That way, if we're running a little late, especially at the end of the day,
that way you have it. So before we so you work with the production company Color Me in Media quite a bit now.
Yes.
And you guys shoot a lot of music videos, primarily music videos at the moment, right?
Yeah.
What has that been like? Because I mean, you've been doing a lot of short films. Music videos is sort of this whole different beast. What has that experience been like?
It's been awesome. It's been amazing. And I've been super lucky to be able to work with some really great bands, and just to have some really crazy concepts that we do. The thing I love about music videos is really, it's kind of a good excuse to show off. You can be a little bit more stylistic because it's supposed to be flashy. It's supposed to really be eye-catching. And then we can do stuff like the music video we did for the Eugene Levy, the Across the Line video, which was straight up a homage to the movie The Outsiders.
Okay, yeah, that one was so cool, man. And I think you guys did such a great job at sort of capturing that greaser vibe and whatnot. Like, you guys did a great job with that. What was the planning in that? Because I'm sure there had to be a lot of planning.
That one was very nuts. That was nice.
I'm happy.
You better now.
You deserve
so much.
That one was months in advance. We were planning sort of shots and looks, and I love to tell this story. So we knew going in, we were going to shoot it on Emil's GH5. And then, so we did some tests, like shot in Vlog, and then he gave me the footage, and then I went home and started color grading it, trying to figure out the look of it. Just like, dang, I really, really wish I could have this camera a little bit longer. And then that night, me and Maddie are having a couple of drinks, watching a movie. Get on my phone. How much is it?
Wow.
Hey, Maddie, I just bought a GH5, and they look over me like, what? Because I had just paid off my C100 like the month before, but it was right in the middle of like a whole bunch of weddings, so I was actually doing pretty well financially.
Let's talk about that GH5.
RIP. I dropped it.
Does anyone know that? Did you tell Maddie or Emil?
Yeah, I told them. They were the first people I told. I broke one of my cameras today. It's probably not too bad of a fix, but
yeah, Michael, we were doing we were just looking
like
at
pre-visiting,
pre-visiting in a way. And I wasn't there yet, but Ben was telling me the story of how he broke his GH5, and it's heartbreaking, man, because not too long ago I broke my C100, and man, there's nothing like breaking in a camera,
especially so like I haven't even had that camera that much, but it's a tool. It's hopefully not going to be too expensive to get fixed.
Yeah, man, you're very calm about it. I'd be freaking out. I was depressed.
I mean, I screamed for a solid
I kind of
5 seconds,
there, so I would have
and it's just like, and then it was like, okay, it's out now. If that was my only camera, I'd be a wreck right now. But I am a bit of a camera. I have a problem.
You got a lot of lights, man. That's what I envy about you. You have so many lights. Like I have like these 2 panel lights right here, and I'm investing in other lights now. But like, it's always been camera, lenses, and then I need to get lights. But I've learned that lighting is so important.
Lighting is really the thing that once you start, because actually during COVID, a lot of times I was bored. I just would take out my panels and I would just start experimenting. Yeah. And then kind of figuring out what worked and what didn't, like what things kind of not really do with these relatively inexpensive panels.
And then you went on to buy like that nice ass aperture. What is it?
The 300D. It's my baby.
Gosh,
the power of the sun in the palm of my hands.
Yeah, I envy you for that, because you could do a lot of cool things with that. For sure.
But actually, that Eugene Levy video, kind of the thing, because I'd used it before. I actually used it briefly on last sleepover, but always rented it. And for that Eugene Levy video, we rented 2, and that whole like big fight at the end, all that backlighting that just like completely lights up the street. That's just a 300D. So, and then a 300X to fill in a little bit.
With the music videos, do you like doing the performance shots more, or more of like the storytelling of the music video part?
Kind of I don't really know if I
No
particularly
difference
have,
between them.
because I guess like if you put a gun to my head and said you can only do one, I think I'd usually always say I prefer the story, but I mean, it's so fun doing performance.
I like
And
the performance shots because you really get to like, I don't know, you just get to light them so cool.
you can
man.
yeah, like the last music video we did for August and Dallas and Jay from Manhattan Blockade, that whole thing, I took that 300D and we had this stage with all these, because the songs about, like, insecurity and like self-harm and stuff. And so we had this black box stage that Maddie and Emil, you can see in the behind the scenes video, they wrote just like all of these like insecurities and like, I hate myself, I want to die, like things like that all over this. And then we brought in Brendan, the drummer, and they just like jammed out and did the song. And that entire thing was lit with that 300D just as high as possible, pointed down like a spotlight.
That's dope.
And like, you'll know what I'm talking about. Apologize, this is all like tech stuff. I was able to stop down. I had to put an ND on and stop down to F8 to get correct exposure.
Wow.
Or it was
what
too
f-stop were you on?
It was at F8.
Wow.
It was on F8 with like, I think 2 ND.
Wow.
And so it was
Then,
very
dude,
good.
I've never even had the chance to see how bright an aperture light can get.
Oh,
You guys are
pretty
totally
crazy.
speaking another language right
You
now.
gotta pull it out someday, man. I
I
gotta
would-
hang out
that's-
with you and
dude.
whip out
Oh,
your
absolutely.
aperture.
I'll whip it out. Yeah.
Just whip it out, man. I just want to see it.
So like that's like stuff like that, or even the Levy video, like we really just like opened up those lenses and let them flare up like crazy.
Have
and-
you had the chance to work with any anamorphic lenses yet?
No, that's a thing I really want to do though. I
Yeah.
love anamorphic. I love the style. I just haven't. Well, one, anamorphic's more expensive and more
Oh my God.
cumbersome,
Yeah.
but I just haven't. I haven't found a good enough reason to bite the bullet. I have the GH5 did anamorphic, but I have had a couple anamorphic lenses that I've considered getting for projects. Actually, early on in the Levy video, we were talking about shooting that anamorphic, but we decided to allocate the budget elsewhere.
So yeah, man, that's crazy that you've gone from, making short films to doing music videos, and now you're tackling your first feature film. Now, what else do you have planned for the rest of the year? Is it sort of just finishing up Ellie and Xavier, or
Ellie and Xavier, finishing that.
doing some more music videos in there?
Music videos, obviously. I have a few other things that I will hopefully be working on as a PA that I can't really talk about right now.
Sure.
I have a short film that we shot with Maddie and Allie Jo Williams. That just a real quick little thing that's really good.
Yeah.
That I have to edit yet, but I would like to at some point, once I'm pretty good with Ellie and Xavier, and we've been in bed a little too long and I need a break from her.
Yeah.
I would like to get writing on my next feature.
So, as a writer, do you have any goals to like maybe just do a book? Is that something that you've ever
I
toyed around with?
suck at prose, so
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Like my slug lines are my actions on the script. They're the most basic things. It's
Like
She
character
runs.
moves to door.
yeah, she runs.
She runs. No
They open the
intention.
door. Like, and I like to write that way also, just
Sure.
because I want to, see what the actors do with it.
Yeah.
Be
play with
leave it
it.
a little bit more open. But yeah, I don't want to say that like I hate writing, because obviously I like it. It's been harder the last couple of years with wanting to focus on Ellie and Xavier, which is why I really want to sit down and write the next big thing.
Which is
Nocturnal.
Wait, what? You're gonna do a feature for Nocturnal?
We'll see how the writing goes. It's
That's
either going to be a
crazy, man.
feature or a series.
Oh yeah, because Maddie was talking about that. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's crazy that you're gonna do that. I love Nocturnal, man. Yeah, I remember watching that for what was the
Mhm.
Christmas special like 3 years ago or something.
Was it it was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Christmas special.
Yeah. Wow. God,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
feels
no.
so long ago. Every time you talk about Nocturnal, it doesn't even feel like that long ago for me. And I mean, I wasn't.
Oh, it
even
feels like
attached to the film.
7 years ago.
Really?
And like in a good way, where I'm like,
Sure.
and I love that movie too. That's probably of the things that I've made so far.
Sort of up there.
It's the closest, and like this is not a knock against any of the other stuff. But Nocturnal is the closest to what I sort of saw in my head when I set out to make it.
And
And
yeah, I
that
mean,
that
that's
short
gotta be
film
special,
is
man.
really just a proof of concept.
for something bigger.
Yeah,
and I
for
always
the-
love that. I bring up Supernatural. Like, yeah, I've never even watched Supernatural.
Oh, funny thing about that, actually.
Yeah.
Still haven't watched it.
That's okay. I don't think it ended too great, so I wouldn't.
If I ever watch it, I know I'm cutting
Yeah.
off at like end of season 5 on like the creator.
That's heartbreaking too, though, how Supernatural ended.
I gotta
I
be
don't wanna
honest. I didn't
spoil.
even watch the ending. I just heard everyone complain about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I stopped watching after season 5.
It's all
I don't-
COVID's fault. It's not how they wanted to end it. but
I
they
don't.
had
I
to.
don't really any show that goes on more than like 5 seasons. I'm always just
Well,
like,
that's what I
mm.
love is like I feel like there's sort of that not new age, but that sort of thing where people are ending series before like dragging them on and
Mhm.
like making
like-
it almost unbearable to even
Or like
watch.
Game of Thrones, where the creators
Oh
just
my
get burned out and they're
God.
like, we want to end this like in as few of episodes as humanly possible.
Yeah, and dude, I'll always hate Game of Thrones for doing that though,
Right.
because like I mean, if you've seen it, obviously it wasn't good.
Something I wanted to say when you guys were talking about using your fancy
Fancy
terminology
lights, yeah.
with lighting and stuff. I just know like a lot of people like glorify like the actors and like the actors make the movies, but it's you guys. Like you guys are the true
It's
artists.
Yeah, I
everyone,
know.
man.
You guys are the true artists.
I mean, but then we could say the same thing about you guys. It literally takes every bit of everyone to make a good film.
Yeah.
And it's like if one person slacks, it doesn't matter how good the cinematography was or the audio was, the movie's not going to be that great, or
Yeah.
you know, vice versa. It's all sort of collaborating,
there was
man.
I forget who said it. There was a quote that's like, it takes like 101 like 1,001 things to make a movie go right, and just one thing for a movie to
and
not-
that's
to
so
not work.
true, man. And like I mean, there's always that one thing that I think that we'll point out where it's like I wish it would have been a little bit better, and that's always just a learning experience too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it takes an army to make a movie, and yeah, I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't have movies. Obviously, gotta have actors, bro.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're an animator.
There you go. Oh,
But-
man, I wish I could animate. That leads me into the next thing
I
that I
tried
want
to
to
do
learn.
stop motion back when I was
Oh, I couldn't
just a
do
wee
stop
awkward
motion.
lad who didn't like to talk to people, and I just did not have the patience for
Did you
it.
see Kevin Thorne posted that Spider-Man?
I
thing?
did, I
Unreal.
did.
Oh my God, man. Kevin's too talented, bro. He can make music. He's a good cinematographer. He can animate. Like, what can that guy not
I
do?
heard he also can look straight into the sun for 7 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, man. All right, well, Ben, we're as we get close to wrapping up here, man. We appreciate you coming on. Where can people find all your work?
You can check out my website, randomthoughtfilms.com. On there, you will see all of the music videos and short films I have shot as a director of photography, as well as all of my short films that are available right now.
You also have your demo reel up there,
I
yeah?
have my demo reel up there, both my directing and my cinematography demo reel.
Dope. Yeah,
And there you
then-
can also email me if you want to work together.
Didn't you just have a music video come out recently, though?
Yeah, that was See Tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was so well made too, man.
Mhm.
I was watching that and I was like, damn, you guys just keep getting better and better with every
Oh, yeah.
music
No,
video.
and
man.
that's the, again, going back to, having your team, like just every time, like me and Neil, Maddie, and also got to shout out Ramon, Tristan. We love Tristan.
Yeah, dude, Tristan's dope.
Um,
I haven't yet to work with him yet, but I mean, he was on the show. Yeah, Tristan's awesome, man.
Love Tristan.
Very positive.
I need one of you two to make a music video for my dad's song "My Lament." I think we can make something super dope.
Let's do it, man. I don't get to work on too many music videos, and I want to. I don't know too many artists though. I have my homie Will Tunick, who's in Des Moines. I haven't got to work with him in a while, but other than that, I haven't shot a music video. In a
It would be
minute.
very story driven because obviously there's no like lyrics or anything. It's just instrumental. But
Sure.
I love that song my dad did so much, and I just think we need to bring it back and make it dope.
Ramon
music
worked on
video
that,
for it.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love Ramon. He's part of our.
For what? What are you working
My
on?
He
Lament.
helped record my dad's song,
Which one?
"My Lament."
Oh, My Limit. I thought
Yeah.
so, for some reason I thought you were talking about the movie that we shot. Fucking
I Talk with the Devil.
yeah. Did he help
This
on
is,
that
this
one?
is a song.
He helped with the song.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I blanked out
No,
for
Ramon-
a fucking second. You guys were just talking about something.
Ramon's
Oh,
one of my favorite people. He's done sound for me. He does like electric stuff on all the music videos.
Okay,
He's
solid
rad.
team.
He's good.
Yeah, love Ramon.
Something I like to ask all our guests before we wrap up here is if you could go back in time to a young Ben, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Stop being pretentious, you little shit. I joke, but also I do think that's kind of important because I was very, very much on my high horse for a while there. And I sort of regret.
High horse being like you held yourself to such a standard that
Yeah.
was sort of impossible.
Yeah,
to
I
meet.
did hold myself to a much higher standard, and I really wish I could say I have a closet of like slasher movies that I made in high school that I could show people, but I don't. And you know, that's kind of all part of the developmental process, and you know, learning, you know, what you like and what you don't. But yeah, my only regret is that I didn't do more sooner.
See,
But even then,
I have a friend. I don't want to like say his name, but he sort of has that dilemma where like he holds himself up to like such a higher standard, and or he wants to make good stuff,
Mhm.
and he gets very down on himself when he doesn't, so he never releases anything.
no.
Would you say that you've sort of been able to find a way to not, you know, have that? I don't know.
It's still something I like struggle with a
Sure.
little bit, where it's like, you know, I do, and it's not even that like I struggle with like confidence or anything, or that I'm like hypercritical of my work, but I just I do find it, I get stuck in my own head a lot of the time, and I sort
Yeah.
of wonder like, is this really good? Is anyone really going to like this? Is this something that is going to connect with people?
Very fitting of your production name, almost. Random
Yeah.
Thought Film.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to find Ben, head over to his website. Hit him up on Facebook if you want. I don't know if you want people to creep on your Facebook.
Yeah, you're not gonna see a whole lot on there. I mean, go for it.
All right. Well, cool, man. That has been this episode of Indie Social. Next week we got Finch Moore coming on. After that, we
Finch.
got Derek Smith and Wes Worthing. Love those guys. We're gonna have a cool month.
Yeah, it's
this
going to be
month.
a busy month, but it's going to be a good one.
All right.
Best months of the business.
All right, guys. Thank
Until
you for
next
tuning
time.
in.
Yada, yada.
Peace.
Now we all look up.
And it-